I just got back from the theaters, and I just seen, well, for the first time in over a year, actually. First time I've ever been to the theaters since, what's the last movie I saw in theaters? That's been 2019. Was it Endgame? No. Spider-Man Far From Home. Wow, last time I was in theaters, I saw Spider-Man Far From Home. That was 2019. Well, I just went back to the theaters and I got to see Black Widow from 2021. And, you know, I enjoyed this movie a lot. And this is a fun movie that I think if you love the Marvel movie series, the MCU, you should go watch this movie. Plus, Black Widow's getting her own movie, and it's about time. We seen her in Iron Man 2 back, 2007, 2008. And no, 2008 is when Iron Man 1 came out, so it was 2010, 2011, around that point. I think 12 maybe. But now we're finally getting her own movie. Yes, it's 2021, and you should watch it because I'm going to review it on this episode of Movie Breakdowns. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. What is Movie Breakdowns? A movie review series we look at new and old movies, give them a grade 8 through up, plus and minuses do count. And if there's a review you want me to do, put in the comments below. I get to it as best I can. Also have a Patreon, Patreon/Ali Zakka. And on Patreon, you get trailer reaction, trailer reviews, first come, first serve when it comes to requests and reviews. Also, you get my first thoughts, like very first thoughts. Like I just put one out on Black Widow because I just seen the movie, so you get my very first thoughts on that. And it's only $2 a month, so you pay $2, you can jump in front of everybody and ask for reviews. Shout out to Ty the Phoenix because he's been asking me to review a bunch of stuff, and you got to see it. He gets to see it before everybody else does because he's paying for it. Now, let's go ahead and get into today's review of Black Widow 2021. Now, the first half of this review can be non-spoilers, and the second half of the review can be spoilers section. I will let you guys know when it happened. Now, this is not my first thoughts anymore. It's kind of like me selling in. I already gave my first thoughts on my Patreon. And I listened to a bunch of other people's reviews like Chris Stuckman, Jeremy Rains, Cosmonaut Variety Hour with Cosmonaut Marcus, and then I even listened to Angry Joe. I usually don't do that, but because I was driving home from the movie theaters, I had time to listen to other people's reviews as I was driving home. And this movie has a lot of mixed reviews, and I don't understand why. And a lot of people like Jeremy, Chris Stuckman, and Cosmonaut Marcus, they all said like it's like your standard MCU movie. And why wouldn't it be? Like, to me, why wouldn't this be a standard MCU movie? It's a pretty fine movie. Storyline and continuity of this movie is solid. So this movie takes place because we all know Black Widow passed away. She died in Endgame. There's no spoiler for that. But this movie takes place between Civil War and Infinity War. That's when this movie takes place. So what Black Widow was doing at this time, this was happening. And you see from the trailer that she meet her sister and then she meet her former family before the Avengers, before S.H.I.E.L.D. And they go off on a mission together in this movie that involves Taskmaster and a bunch of other villains and other missions and events. And for the best part of this movie, it's solid. The acting is solid to me in this movie. Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson play off each other so well, and their dynamic, it makes you believe they actually are sisters. Like, it is so great and so good with them. And the first opening part of this movie is solid, and all the way through the movie of Scarlett Johansson, or say Black Widow, I was almost interchangeable for me now. But they play off each other so well that they go through the motions and that she can just literally sleepwalk her way through Black Widow and be perfectly fine. And her and her sister Yelena play off each other so well in this movie that it's solid. It is solid. And yes, you see from the trailer, her sister's just like her. So you know that's going to have a play into the movie. But when they come together and the dynamic of them playing off each other and them bonding and making jokes and cracking jokes at each other and them figuring out like what they've been up to these past few years. It's solid. It's a really solid storyline that plays out with them. And once it starts off with, Scarlett Johansson's by herself. Black Widow's by herself, and she gets dragged into the scenario and to run to her sister, and then from there runs into the rest of the family. And it's solid. It's really solid how the storyline goes. I enjoyed it. There are parts, I've seen this movie in theaters, there's parts of it where like I jumped from certain scenes, and there's parts where I laughed and chuckled. Now, is it like Guardians of the Galaxy funny? No. You're not gonna be like on your butt and like, oh my gosh. But you're gonna get some parts and be like, that's pretty funny. Oh, that's funny. That's a cool way to think about it. That's a little comic relief there. As far as seriousness of this movie, it is a serious movie at certain points. They have a lot of serious moments in it. To me, this movie can fall along with Captain America series, where it's like a spy movie and they got like spy events and kind of more technical kind of savvy movies. So this falls along with that. It's not like your intergalactic alien battles. It's more at home. Now the action pieces in this movie, are a little bit over the top at times. There are parts where I'm like, Black Widow shouldn't survive that. She shouldn't survive that. I'm pretty sure she's not super endurable. So how is she getting up from that? How is she landing her feet there? Okay, hold on. And then the cut scenes, when it comes to the action pieces, yeah, the cut scenes, there's multiple cuts in between action scenes. There's different stuff what's going to happen. You'll be like, who am I following? Who am I following? Am I following Black Widow? Okay, well, she was just there, but now she's over here. So the action sequences, you don't really get a clear view. Like, it's not John Wick action where you'll be able to see exactly what's happening and who he's fighting. You're going to get like a bunch of choppy cuts in between fights and different takes in a fight scene, the action sequences. The action is over the top, but to me, where this movie hits at, it's not in the action, but more of the storyline, more of the family dynamic that it plays off of, the yearning to be a family and what family really means is what this movie hits harder for me than the action per se. But it's good. The action pieces are good. It's solid. The music is really great in this movie. If you listen to a bunch of reviews, especially my anime reviews, when I talk about music and the orchestra sounds, and when movies put that into their soundtrack and puts it the right part of the tension and action pieces, so good there, so good. The music is solid in this movie, solid. And I probably go listen to the soundtrack of this movie multiple times. And this movie kind of makes me wish I had more of a Black Widow movie. Like, I wish I had a Black Widow 3-peat movie series, but we don't get that now because Natasha's dead. But I don't know, I enjoyed this movie. The climax of the movie to me is very long. I feel like it's like once you get to the climax, you're in it for a solid 40 plus minutes afterwards. And I do like how Natasha uses her brain to get through certain things that you don't see in other Marvel movies. Like, it is a little different. And the other action superhero movies in general, the way she kind of gets out of certain situations, I like that. The villains per se, you're not going to really care about the villains. You're not going to care at all. You're just curious to see how Scarlett Johansson, I guess Black Widow, really achieve in the end, because at the end of the day she does survive because Endgame happens. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the cast and characters and director. I'm not going to talk about what the budget of this movie is estimated. I don't have the budget out yet because it just came out, but so far worldwide it has grossed it, and this is at the time of this review, so it's gonna make it much more, but it's $39,500,000 as of today's date is July 10th. So as of July 10th, when this review comes out, it'll be much more at that time, so go back and check that. But this movie is directed by, where's her name at? Kate Shortland. And besides the last action piece at the end of the movie, where I feel like in the action piece where I feel like they made her seem like Black Widow's god tier invincible and can just survive any kind of fights. Like, there's a scene where I'm like, I'll talk about my spoilers, I'm like, God dang. Okay. So she just surviving stuff like this left and right? Oh, all right. Sure. It's happening, I guess. When did she take a super soldier serum? But other than that, I thought Kate Shortland did a good job. The way the camera angle was set up for certain family moments and certain pieces, I thought she did a great job with. Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, phenomenal. Scarlett Johansson has been phenomenal with the jobs after Iron Man 2. I thought she did a great job with the character. And to me, she really blossoms in Avengers, the first Avengers movies, and she is solid. Amazing. Florence Pugh, who played Yelena, who is Black Widow's sister. Florence Pugh, who to me is, from the movies I've seen her in, has always delivered. She delivers in this movie as well. You will grow to love her character. You go love everything about her and how she reacts and plays off Scarlett Johansson. And there's certain scenes in the movie where Yelena does certain jokes and stuff like that where you're like, you actually chuckle with her or chuckle at certain situations. And she's played that, the high energy younger sister that she is to Black Widow, and you can see that some of the things that some of Black Widow's traits have taken effect on Yelena when they was growing up, because the way that Yelena acts is the way Black Widow acts in other movies, and I give Florence props to that. David Yarborough, who played Alexei, who is I'm not sure if I said his name right, but who is the Red Guardian, thought he did great. He had funny moments, and for a moment I thought he was the overconfident dad who, trying to be the hero of the story kind of character, and he wasn't. And I think they did a good job of not making him like a very disruptive character to what Yelena and Black Widow had built up. So I thought he felt more like a piece to the puzzle versus a forced piece into the puzzle. That makes sense. Like I think he did a good job. And then Rachel Weisz, who played Melina, I thought she also did a good job. I thought when she gets introduced, you're just like, okay, she's gonna be around, but then she stays around and you're like, oh, okay, she's been there from the beginning of the movie, but as the mother figure of the family dynamic, thought she also did a great job too. She didn't really disrupt this dynamic as well. And there's actually a couple of scenes in the movie where you have heart-to-heart moments, and I think all four of them together really do good on that. Ray Winstone, who he is one of the villains in the movie, and Ray, he's okay. He's just another average Marvel bad guy. And then from the trailer, because Taskmaster is in the movie, Taskmaster, who's played by, I guess I would say that one for my spoiler section, because that actually will be a spoiler, but Taskmaster is fine. See here, any other thoughts I want to add? I feel like I added everything. The action piece was over the top to me, but for what this is as a Marvel movie, this is a fine Marvel movie. It is solid. It's, as far as the characters having their own movies and it's aligned with the Marvel MCU timeline, I think this is a solid introduction for Black Widow, who should have had her movie a long time ago, but it's fine. I think it's a good to great movie. And is this a Friday night movie, a movie you should see in theaters? Yes, go see this movie in theaters. Give Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, her props and give her like the credit that she deserves. And actually on top of that, I think it's a good talking point here, because when you get a character like Black Widow, who is considered a sexy character, and Scarlett Johansson, who's a very beautiful woman, and you get a character like in Iron Man 2, Scarlett Johansson is overly sexualized in that movie. You cannot watch the movie today and say they overly sexualize her. And in this movie, Black Widow, I felt like they did not do that. They just made this a story about a character who wants to find that their family's still around, family's still living, and get that bonding family moment and go on the mission together. There's nothing about this movie that's over sexualized Scarlett Johansson that make you feel like, man, they're really trying to emphasize her physique or emphasize this or that. Nope, none of that. It is completely solid, and I appreciate that. So go give Scarlett Johansson and Black Widow their props in this movie. Now, grading time. I'm gonna grade Black Widow from 2021 a solid B+. It's a B+ for me. To me, and this could be a little bit of a nag on me, but I didn't like the overdone of the action pieces, the choppiness of each action sequences, and I didn't also like the climax. For me, it took forever. Like, once you got there, you was in that climax for a very long time, and it's like every little thing was like, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? All right, we got this. We just finished this. Realized, okay, we got another thing. All right, this is happening while this is happening. And you're just like, we know what's gonna happen next. We don't need to take a decade to get through it. But, and speaking of that, decade, this movie is 2 hours and 14 minutes, but it's okay. It's a solid 2 hours and 14 minutes where you feel like at certain points it's not that long, at certain points it is, but pacing to me wasn't a problem. It just, the climate just took forever. And things I did love about this movie, the acting I did love. I love the way Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson played off each other. I love the family dynamic as a part of this movie, and maybe want more of these characters in other movies. And the music I love was solid, and the storyline to me is a great storyline. So it's a B+. If you've seen Black Widow, what did you think? Please put in the comment section below. Other than that, see you guys in the next episode of movie breakdowns. And if you want spoilers, stick around, because we're getting the spoilers in 3, 2, 1. So I already gave my grade for this movie. I really think pieces I really want to talk about that I think one of the big spoilers are the villains. So Taskmasker ended up being the daughter of the main villain. So Taskmasker is played by Olga Kurylenko. And when you find out who the Taskmasker actually is, you know, the daughter of the main bad guy, you're like, oh, okay. Like, I saw a Taskmasker, because I didn't assume Taskmasker was a guy. You know, he is a guy in the Marvel Universe. He, like, in this movie, he is not. But he's a cool villain, just a guy to fight Black Widow and the family. That's all he is. Like, he's, all she is in this movie. And that's it. You don't get much else besides that. She's a daughter of the main villain, who is Draco, who's played by Ray Winstone. And he did like amazing villain, like somebody who you don't want to survive, because he has influence over the world of the Black Widows, over the world of the Red Room. It's tragic, and what he's doing to girls, kidnapping them and forcing them to become assassins and chemically change their brains so they can't think for themselves, is messed up. And you really want him to go down, and Black Widow said she was gonna kill him, so you want to see that happen. So in the movie, you're watching Black Widow gets dragged into the situation because her sister Yelena gets free. She gets free of the chemical brainwashing, and finds her sister, who is an Avenger. So she's hoping that her sister can get the rest of the Avengers into the scenario and then just end it all. But the problem is, this is after Civil War, so the Avengers are not together right now, and Scarlett Johansson is actually off of her own and trying to survive and lay low and try to get away from the government. But she goes to help her family because she found out her sister's alive. Goes and find her sister, then find out their dad is still alive, so go get the dad out of jail, and then find out their mom is still alive. And by the way, this whole family is fake. It was a Russian disguise to create the super soldiers, create the chemical serum to control more girls and make them assassins. But for the 3 years this family was together, Florence character, Yelena, and Scarlett Johansson really, Black Widow I should say, really like bonded. And they did have moments that, you know, they faked something. They had moments where they felt like it was a true family. And this movie does play on, like, yeah, they did this together for 3 years. They really connected on a different level than just was a front. And there was a line in the movie where there's like, Scarlett Johansson's like, it's not real. Black Widow goes, it's not real. And Florence Pugh's character, Yelena, goes, It was real for me, damn it. Or, so it was real for me, not damn it. It's just thinking that WWE, that wrestling show with the guys like, it's real for me, damn it.
It's still real to me, damn it.
And that's how I felt like watching that line. I was like, please don't say it. And she says it, and I was like, it's like watching wrestling. Where it's like wrestling's fake. It's real for me, damn it. That's how I felt about it. But it was cool. And to play off that, where they actually feel like there's an actual family, Yelena and Black Widow, like Yelena teases Black Widow a lot. She teases about her little power pose that she has, or her superhero pose. And there's a point in the movie where Yelena does it, and Yelena's like, ew, gross, after she does it by unintentionally doing it when she landed. And speaking of landing, there's a scene in this movie where Black Widow falls like 20 feet from the air and lands completely on her feet while the person that fell before her died. And I was like, they're both super soldiers, or not super soldiers, they're both top agent spies. One landed on her feet, the other one didn't. Okay, cool. How is Black Widow surviving this? Speaking of like action pieces, there's a scene where Black Widow and Yelena are fighting each other into like an apartment, and they're like throwing each other into cupboards and throwing each other on tables and walls and like cracking stuff is breaking. And I'm like, how durable are these people? They're not bleeding or anything. Like, good lord. And speaking of blood, this movie doesn't really have that much blood. It's PG-13, so it doesn't really have that much blood in it. But like stuff is happening where you're like, that shouldn't make sense, as far as like somebody getting tossed into a cupboard and the cupboard completely shatters and they are perfectly fine. Doesn't make any sense. But the movie does that with some of the action pieces. And as far as like the ending part, when they do find Draco, and Draco does a thing where like you can't attack him because you smell his pheromones off of him, so you can't attack him, but he can attack you. And he punches Scarlett Johansson a few times, and Scarlett Johansson, like, he punches her weak, and she gets to reveal his master plan and the evil lair, and the war will soon be his monologue. Black Widow breaks her nose so therefore she can't smell anymore and be able to punch Draco. I thought it was a pretty neat, pretty cool and neat way to change up the whole villain and hero dynamic, where the villain gets a one-up and the hero got to overcome it by breaking their nose. I guess you've seen it. Hunter x Hunter is probably the only one I've seen where the main character like cuts himself, so therefore he bleeds out a little bit so he can see better. Like, you really see that where the good guy end up doing their body some kind of harm to one up the villain who has come up with this master plan to block whatever the good guy's doing. I thought it was a pretty cool thing. Action pieces I thought was solid, but like it's a little over the top at certain times. The cuts are a little off. I think I pretty much gave the storyline already. There was a giant avalanche scene in this movie, and there's no way that they should have survived it. And I'm just like, God dang it, why did they give that away? Like, action really is gonna like take you out of the movie, but as everything else, it is solid. The family table scene where they kind of get teary-eyed and choked up, I thought was pretty cool. The act at the beginning of the movie where the family gets separated, thought was solid. And then they do talk about Budapest a lot in this movie, like the events that Hawkeye and Black Widow experienced before the Avengers movie that you hear about so much. Like, this is kind of like Budapest. Like, what do you mean like Budapest all over again? This movie brings it up and gives you a little more insight, and maybe one day we might get another movie, like a prequel movie of what happened in Budapest, that Black Widow was trying to get rid of Draco and end up missing the mark. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. But those are a few things I really want to talk about. If you're going to see this movie, let me know what you think of the action set pieces and what you think about the seriousness of the movie. And what you think about Florence Pugh acting. I thought she did great. I thought her comedic chops was solid too. So let me know. Other than that, see you guys in the next episode where we break downs. And keep being awesome. Thank you guys for watching this episode. I really appreciate it. Please Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Also, you want to see what else I'm doing in my normal life and other things that's going on, please follow me on Instagram at Ali_Zakka. I'll put it right here around my face. Yep, right there. Also, if you want more episode of movie breakdowns or grind towards success or whatever it is I'm doing on YouTube, you know what? Follow my page right here, like I said before, the little comment thing right there, And then you can watch the last episode of movie breakdowns right here, and watch the last episode of grind towards success right there. Other than that, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate y'all. See y'all next time. Keep being awesome.